Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 42 of Passion Project, the best place on Twitch to show the world what you love the most in speedrunning and gaming. My name is Amber Cyprin. We just wrapped up our 1 year later Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown series, which if you didn't see that, you should go back, wait for the end of this next run. This next run's gonna be great, and then we're gonna do a replay of both shows. It'll be great. And you can go see that showcase. But we are joined by Silver and Shovelclaws, showcasing this really, really awesome indie game called Vividlope, and it's going to be the any % items category. So, thank you both. Thank you both for being here tonight. I swear I can English. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I'm glad to be here.
I'm just excited to show this really cool indie game that very few people have heard of. Honestly, I don't run this game, but I'm excited either way.
Shovel has been my hype person, so it's here to really hype me up.
Exactly. I'm glad you caught on.
Yeah, if you want an indie game hype person, like that's gonna be Shovelclaws. It is here for it.
All right. You want to explain what this is, Silver?
Yeah, so first off, I am MHFsilver. People just call me Silver because it's easier. This is Vividlope, any % items. I just want to specify right off the bat some things since the run is going to be a little bit loaded with information. The category items refers to a special menu where you get access to, and that is the main thing, is this run will use that menu, and that's the most important thing. Everything else we'll explain once we actually get into it.
Yeah.
So
the items in this game make this run a lot faster. So.
Oh yes, there is right now between the items and itemless category, there's a 20-minute discrepancy. So
it's a lot.
Yeah.
No, but it's a really kind of kick-ass run. Like it just instantly starts going and does not slow down the entire way through. So try to keep up.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking quite a bit because of it. So I hope you're ready to hear us ramble. But I'm going to go ahead.
I'm always here for professional yapping, so I'm here for this.
Alrighty. Well, let me know when you're ready, and I will give a countdown.
You can go for it.
All right. 3, 2, 1, begin. So the very first thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to just stand in a corner, and we'll actually explain more as to why that's the case. And this little blue guy here on the right-hand side, he actually wants to talk to us, but we can actually just barely jump over the little box to actually interact with him, and we actually enter the first world. As I get into this first level, the first thing you're going to see me do in every level is I'm actually going to be skipping a little introduction sequence. And that is at the beginning of every single level in this game, it has a little flyover, kind of similar to Super Monkey Ball. But like Super Monkey Ball, I can actually just skip it by just mashing restart. And I will be doing that for basically every single level. And then at the start of it, Super Monkey Ball is fantastic. At the start of every level as well, you'll also see a little box show up at the bottom of the screen. That's the items menu I mentioned. That I access by just pressing select, and that will give me access to a few items depending on how far in the game I am. The main one I'm using is called Max Power, and what that will do, is it will fill up my power gauge that's on the left-hand side of the screen. What's important about that is the farther up it is, the faster I go. And the higher, and when it's over a certain threshold, I can use special abilities specific to the character I'm playing, Miss Noir. And this game features 3 playable characters, with Miss Noir being the fastest for this category because of these special powers she gets access to.
Yeah. To kind of explain the basic gameplay loop as we're going through some of these first kind of beginner-friendly stages, the first world after all, this game is kind of like a mix of Super Monkey Ball and Splatoon. And if you ever played the game Ninja Painter on coolmathgames.com, that's my favorite reference for this game's gameplay loop. Is it's kind of like you're painting a bunch of tiles in order to hit a certain percentage. You'll see that percentage that is required for the stage we're on in the top left-hand corner. So we want to get as fast as possible as many of those tiles painted as we can. And Miss Noir is excellent for that because of her what's the technical name? I know
it is technically called. It's technically called Rolling Fire, and I do that by pressing the L2 and triangle buttons together. Now, there's actually a funny quirk with that. The L2 button is actually how you just normally walk in this game, and the intent is that you hold L2 L2 and triangle together to use the ability. But by doing that, I actually just make Miss Noir walk, which is not fun. We don't want to walk. But it was actually discovered by one of our community. Yeah. It was discovered by one of our community members. Oop, I accidentally jumped into a death tile. It was discovered by a community member that you can actually work around that, in that instead of holding L2 and triangle, if you press both of them to initiate it, and then you just start holding triangle instead, you can use L2 to initiate the action itself. Instead of having to hold both of them, you can just instead hold triangle, which doesn't slow you down, and then you can just press L2 to initiate the item. And so we get to actually move a whole lot faster.
Yeah, this game has really fluid movement. That's why I'm such a big fan of it, if you would guess. And that movement tech of being able to throw rolling fire without walking is actually a lot more technical than it seems, because of the way that walking and holding, how holding triangle makes you kind of stay looking in a certain direction. So you'll see here, as Silver throws fire, he's actually going to sidestep and keep walking forward, and that changes your movement a little bit, and it's actually a really hard technique to get down. It's the main reason I haven't run this game yet, is because I just don't have the time to get it down, but this game is surprisingly technical with its movement because of that. It's really cool.
Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm essentially locking the direction that the rolling fire is going to go in. And I referred to it as directional storage. I don't think it's like really a trick. It's just what I call it. But it is basically locking me into strafing in a certain way. And so I want to always initiate it in a direction I'm trying to maintain and go in a straight line in. And that way I can hold one direction to move. But because I've done that directional storage, the game will make me strafe and shoot in one line no matter what direction I'm holding. So I could start, in this case, I could start firing up, but then I can hold down, and as long as I'm still holding the triangle from before, anytime I press L2, Noir will turn to face whatever direction I originally started the rolling fire in, which does come in handy in quite a few levels to very quickly correct which direction I'm facing and just adjust myself to fix where I'm actually like throwing all the fire. And one thing we haven't actually talked about is once I hit the threshold of what we need to complete for a level, the game actually puts us into a bonus phase where it challenges me to actually fill in the rest of the tiles. But I'm using one of Noir's other abilities, which is just to dash, to go in a straight line. And I'm going back over tiles I've already changed the color of, because part of that challenge is you have to not step back over tiles you've already filled in. But we want to quickly end the level, so I just dash directly into the the tiles I've already filled in, which will tank my power meter, which will end that bonus phase instantly.
Yeah, there's a lot of like niche micro management of that power meter. You'll see that Silver, if he gets too low, he's going to just pop a max power, but that actually loses a bit of time in the follow-up of it. There's a lot of really minor time saves in this game, which makes it such a cool speedrun that, like, no, Silver is like the main runner of this game and is pretty dominant at it, but if, more guys got onto it, then it'd be a fiery competition at the top because of it.
Yeah, this game
is a super impressive run.
It is, just by looking at it, you would have no idea the nonsense that my fingers are doing right now. Like, it is crazy with what actual amount of stuff you have to do a lot of this stuff that I'm doing as, like, I don't want to say perfect, but as, like, optimal. I think that'd be the best way to put it. Because there is so much that you have to do, so many buttons you have to hold. It was actually Shovel that recommended I start using a controller input display so people can get a real idea of what I'm doing.
Yeah, and Silver streams with that input display pretty often, and sometimes I just look at the controller input display and I'm like, ooh, okay, the fire gameplay.
Yeah, it is whack. I also have some tutorials where I have the controller display as well, so you can really see just how weird things get.
Yeah, no, it's a good run though. But we're into World 4 now, and we have unlocked the bomb power-up. The bomb power-up destroys enemies for us, and that's really convenient for some of the stages routing we're going to route here in the future, because they're going to drop a lot of enemies on us, and that is scary. if you run into an enemy, you'll instantly die. There's one hit KO, but you have a certain amount of lives in the game. So you want to be very careful about actually hitting those enemies. So Silver's gonna play it pretty safe usually and just take them out with a bomb. And it just so happens to be pretty fast as well.
Yeah, and another benefit we'll see a little bit later is the bomb also gives us invulnerability, which I think is a bit funny because the whole thing is it's like a screen clear. So it giving you invulnerability frames is also kind of interesting, but we get to abuse that later. We'll get to use it for a couple of little skips. But yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's used to clear out the screen, as well as in some cases, I will use it instead of a max power, simply because the amount of using the bomb will refill your power gauge based on how many enemies are eliminated by it. So if the if the screen's got a lot of enemies, I will actually use that instead of a max power to just give myself the power from all the enemies it's getting rid of.
That is actually sick. I did not know that.
And then here we can see invisible tiles. These just appear as you get closer to them. It used to actually be a lot more difficult to tell. The developer actually made it a lot more obvious in recent updates where the invisible tiles were. For us, it doesn't matter because we know exactly where everything's at.
We're also getting introduced now to recursive tiles. So the past few stages have had us have two-step tiles where we need to walk over them twice. The benefit of using rolling fire so much is that it actually instantly clears both steps. So we can just rolling fire each tile and not have to worry about that two-step process. But the problem now is that we're going to get tiles that will clear themselves if we walk over them 3 times, or a second time after we power them up all the way. So that makes rolling fire a little bit harder routing-wise to actually use. Also, one thing we haven't explained yet, kind of funny that we are waiting until now, frankly, because it's a huge deal in the any % run, is short mode. That's the thing that Silver did at the very start of the run. I know we're 10 minutes in, and I'm sure your brain's overflowing with information about this game, but think back 10 minutes ago. We just walked in a corner for 5 seconds. That activates short mode. Usually in this game, you're required to beat 12 stages, I believe, if I remember correctly.
In the latest version, it ranges. So
okay.
A few worlds have more, some have less.
Right. Instead, on short mode, it only requires 5. It is a huge time save. I believe our first world record that was without it, granted, not the most optimal, but was like 2 hours or something. And then instantly you chopped like 2 hours off because short mode got found. It was very funny to look back on speedrun.com's history page and find that out.
Yeah, the first run was like 2 hours and 40 minutes, and then my first run of the category was 59 minutes, I think, and that was with short mode. So the discovery of it drastically changes everything because we now have to do significantly less levels. At the time, it was 12 per world, but with the most recent updates, they have adjusted it to where now it's kind of a variable amount. So each world has a different amount of levels you need to do. But the short mode still only sets it to only needing 5 at most.
Right.
Well, that explains why you're skipping certain levels in the level select.
Yes, exactly. So we only need to do 5, so we just pick whatever 5 are the fastest. And it's a really interesting routing challenge because occasionally we will get reroutes for levels that we originally didn't include. But then because of the reroute, it's a few seconds faster. We're putting it in the run. And that's happened a few times since I started looking at this game as a speedrun. But it's really cool. It means that this game kind of always keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, I've described it to people as a spreadsheet of a madman. I keep a spreadsheet of all of the stuff I'm doing to route this game. And if you just don't know anything about this and you look at that spreadsheet, you would assume I'm insane. But I think right now
that's how you know it's a good speedrun.
I think now would be a perfect time if you wanted to share some announcements.
I just want to ask everyone out there, are you enjoying yourselves? Do you happen to be a streamer with a community that loves to support charitable causes? You can apply to become an SGDQ ambassador. You can join our group of creators that will be raising money for Doctors Without Borders this upcoming June. Selected streamers will raise money for the charity and have the chance to attend the event as guests of GDQ and MSF. Use !SGDQ ambassadors in chat for more information and apply by April 27th. That's coming up very soon, so make sure if you are interested, you apply. You do not need to be a speedrunner, and it is also an international opportunity. So, if you are not a speedrunner but you like supporting charity, consider applying to the ambassador program.
Ooh, I'm so excited for SGDQ.
Me too.
We're into a world 5 now. This world actually introduces ice physics, my favorite. We're gonna start having these tiles that are ice, but I actually don't. Do we see any in world 5? I actually don't remember if we do or not.
Yeah, we actually see it for a couple levels. The final level is where we're going to see it the most. One of the nice things is oftentimes in games where you have these ice physics, people despise them because it just makes controlling things a whole lot harder. The nice thing we get from this is that the ice physics actually apply to the rolling fire I'm using as well. And there's a level the next level we're going to do, we actually get to make good use of that, where I just get to spam and let the ice physics send all of my stuff flying and just paint everything for me.
Also didn't know that. That's awesome.
And then you might have noticed...
I'm not the runner here.
You may have noticed...
Keep learning new things.
Over the course of this, you're probably thinking like, oh, and this is what I'm talking about. I just get the spam here, and it's going to follow all the ice physics. You would probably imagine by looking at this, oh, because of how powerful this rolling fire stuff is, surely I'm only going for levels that have straight lines. And while that is true, a lot of what we're doing are focusing on levels that have mostly straight lines. It is still like, we still have to figure out, because not everything is going to have a straight line. But with the combination of the rolling fire and the dash that we can do, the straight lines are the most effective way to do it. And very soon, we're going to start pivoting to levels that have very different level design. After this world, we unlock... The whole time we've been progressing through the game, we've actually been unlocking more items. You may have noticed as I open the items menu, there's more entries in there that I'm just not touching. That's because most of them aren't very useful for us right now. Plus, one of the downsides to playing Miss Noir is that she technically gets less item uses out of all of the characters. So there's two other characters we can play as, Cerise and Acru, who are the actual main characters. One thing we did not mention is Miss Noir is technically the antagonist. We are technically playing the villain of the game. And one of her downsides is her item usage count is lower than Cerise or Acru. So if I were to use any of these other items, I would have very minimal amounts of uses of them compared to those two characters. And so because of that, they just simply aren't really that useful for us, because the time that it would take to equip them and use them, we waste more time because we have to spend more time menuing to equip more of them.
Mm-hmm. See, all of these like weird micro decisions that you make during this run are all so interesting. Oh, I love this speed game.
And this is where we're going to abuse the bomb iframes I mentioned earlier. So these pink tiles,
yes, I love this level.
We can actually just walk over these pink tiles after using a bomb. This level is actually one of the few levels in the game where it forces us to take a certain item called Super Jump. But Super Jump is something we can't actually unequip once we have it. And we don't want that. We don't want to use an item that we're forced into, especially since it's slow. So what we can do is we can just use Bomb to just dash over these death tiles and completely skip having to use it.
It's genius. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
it's very interesting use of the game's mechanics, and that's one of the, like, if that was a slight design, if there was a small design difference where the bomb did not give you iframes, that whole strategy would not work at all, and we'd be forced to using Super Jump.
Yeah. If you're an FPS runner, this analogy will make a lot more sense to you. And if you're not, I'm sorry. But I like to call this game the Titanfall 2 of puzzle game speedruns, because, like, it should not be as cool as it is. but like it just so happens to have those weird quirks in its movement and its item usage that like it ends up being hype. Like low key, the no walk rolling fire throws that Silver's been doing the whole run, and like they're hard. Are low key like this game's crouch kicks? I don't know if this analogy makes sense to people, but like it's so cool. Like this game rocks. Oh my god, go play it.
Yeah, it is definitely worth checking out. It is on Steam and Switch. One thing I did just use in that level was at the beginning, I used the bomb to give myself invulnerability frames again, and then I just dashed through a bunch of tiles that were supposed to kill me. It's supposed to be this like whole timing thing where you're supposed to jump over the death tiles as they change to safe or not safe. Instead, I just used the bomb to give myself iframes so I can dash through them. But here in World 8 is where we get the most busted item the entire game, and the thing that will pivot our level choices, and that is the Paint Burst. And now, at least for these couple levels, I'm not going to be spamming as much max power, because this Paint Burst item, as you can tell right now, it is filling quite a bit of stuff for me. It is making it a cakewalk, and I have to only use a couple of them, and that whole level's completed. The Paint Burst is just a giant, like, star shape, sort of, and it just fills in around you. So now what we do is we're pivoting to some levels that are more open and have, like, large spaces to get the most use out of the Paint Burst. And so now I'm mostly using the max power, more so for the speed boost than the actual rolling fire. So you'll see that now going forward, some of the levels we're going to choose, especially in the next world, are just going to be massive because of how much ground this covers for us. And then here we get some like little light bulbs that the whole gimmick of these little light bulbs is they're going to like turn off and on the tiles around them. We get to just ignore it because the Paint Burst will just go through the little light bulbs.
Yeah, mighty convenient.
Yep. And so here we're going to get introduced to the landmine tiles. We want to avoid these guys as much as possible. They're hidden unless you approach them, and they activate a sort of like slow-mo effect that was added as a feature to like catch yourself. If you're at a point where your power meter is low enough to where the next encounter with something is going to kill you, the game will give you a small bit of time to correct your direction. And the landmines, since they will kill you instantly no matter what, will always put us in that slow-mo state. So we want to never be close to one of them because of that.
Oh, that's big Pac-Man Championship Edition vibes there with the bullet time, like prior to making contact with something that'll harm you.
Yeah.
I get it.
It'll also happen in the bonus phase. If we are so low on power that we are gonna die from walking over a tile, in the bonus phase it'll put us in that same slow-mo. So that's why we want to always have at least enough power so that we can dash to instantly end the bonus phase. And so now we're going to enter World 9. And one thing, I mean, we touched on a little bit earlier, the character we're playing is technically the villain this whole time. And at the beginning of every world, there's this little cutscene I've been skipping that's actually supposed to be a bit of the lore. And here it drastically changes with that cutscene where it implies something else just happened. Shovel, do you want to explain what's going on?
Oh god, I don't know the lore of this game, man. I skipped all the cutscenes.
Oh, well, then I'll go over it. So basically, as we are playing Miss Noir, the antagonist of this game, the whole world that we're playing in is basically a game created by Miss Noir. And as you play through the game, it's telling her story as to why she did this. And it's a bunch of little cutscenes where it tells about what she did as in like the normal world, talks about how she was a teacher and fell in love with this guy. And then as you progress, you find out that something nefarious is happening. And then ultimately Miss Noir finds out that the guy she had a crush on was cheating on her. And so the cutscene going into World 9 here is basically her realizing that. And so now it sort of paints a picture as to why Miss Noir is creating this world. And it's mostly in like grief and despair and hatred for people in love.
I didn't know this game had a real story. Oh god, I feel so bad.
Just gives you an excuse to replay it with the cutscenes.
Yeah, that's true. I should do that. Actually thinking about it. But yeah, World 9 is the one before the finale world, right? I think.
Yep. This is the second to last world.
Yeah, the finale world changes quite a lot of the gameplay loop, because in the finale world, you'll see once we get there, of course, but you actually have to paint every tile. So, and it's kind of this stage rush where you're given tasked to beat these stages one by one by one by one. You have no choice anymore, and it's a really cool way to switch things up. I am a big fan of this game's last split.
Yeah, it is basically a gauntlet of just levels back to back to back, and it does change up some things. One of the big things that we'll see that's very different to how I'm doing every single level is the final world is treated as one giant level. And so as I've been doing all these levels, and I've been doing this level little skip intro thing, in the final world, if I were to do that again, it would actually reset me back to the first level. And so instead, what I would be doing is I'm actually going to be speeding up the cutscene instead of completely skipping it, so I don't accidentally just reset myself.
I feel like I accidentally did that once while trying to practice this game's like movement, and the despair on my face, it hurt.
And then just like at the beginning, we have this little guy who wants to talk to us. We can just barely jump over him as well. I've actually reset here on world record pace once.
Ooh.
And it crushed me. So the rules change now, as Shovel mentioned. Now every level must be 100% completed, and now we actually start with max power, with the goal being we are not allowed to lose power. So if I were to get no power, I would game over. And so I have to maintain power.
The other thing that's really important in Finale here is that our power will actually carry on with us to the next world, I believe. So it means that we have to be even more careful just outside of, we have to, route this stage and not run out of power. We have to additionally keep in mind that we're going to impact our next world or our next stage's actions.
Yeah, and a lot of these levels are, as you would expect from like the final in the game, it's supposed to be like really testing your abilities and stuff. And some of these levels are actually designed more as like puzzles where there really is a correct way to go. And since we're trying to obviously minimize how much backtracking we're doing, all of these levels, I have figured out the exact path that I need to go through to make sure I don't walk back over stuff. And then in like stuff like this level makes perfect use of the paint burst because I can just walk in a straight line and just paint burst and fill in everything for me. The thing I have to really be careful for is these little pink orbs that are flying around. These can just one-tap me. And especially around these corners, I got to be very careful because I have just unknowingly walked into these and died before.
Yeah, no, it's tough. These levels are all really hard on your casual playthrough too, just because of the added, like, oh, you can't run out of power. It becomes this huge gauntlet of real puzzle design. And I say that kind of lightly because this game does a really good job with the puzzle design, but it becomes a task where you have to think ahead on what you're actually doing. It makes for a great part of the speed run too. It's really cool.
Fortunate.
Those jump pads will send you in one of the 8 directional inputs, and you can be really scary on this level because you can just get flung into the void if you're not careful.
Yeah, it gives you a bit of time to correct where you're going to move, but some of these, it's very, there's not a whole lot of direction you can hold to keep safe. Oh, I missed some tiles somewhere.
I think you missed some at the top.
I missed some. Where is I missing?
We gotta search. Oh no, unlucky.
Not too bad.
Yeah, and that's another thing that can happen with rolling fire is, see, I have the stream up on my other monitor. The rolling fire literally just went diagonally, so you end up missing the tiles in the center there.
Yeah,
and,
that
especially on these stages.
Yeah,
like it's pretty tough.
It is a lot of like, because I have to hold the directions to initiate it, like mentioned earlier, there are some times where I think it's mostly my D-pad. I'm not going to admit to it being a skill issue. I will blame the hardware. I will say that it is, there are some times where it just holds a diagonal angle, which is not good for us. We want it to always be in a straight line. So when it gets to those moments where it's mistakenly doing a diagonal, I have to always stop and correct it. And because I mentioned before, when I start holding triangle, it stores that direction. It means I have to let go of triangle and reinitiate the whole rolling fire process again, which if I have to correct my angle like that, it's just another couple seconds wasted. And for every time that I use the rolling fire with that misdirection, that's power wasted as well, which means it's another max power I have to use, which means it's another menu I have to use, which is now just more wasted time. So it's always...
The boulder is falling down the hill. It's over.
Yeah, it's very, very taxing. And now we're entering the very last level, which is just a cube. So we get to make use of the paint burst to very quickly fill this cube. So get ready with time.
You can also see that the paint burst is on 13 charges now. Kind of scary, but it'll be okay.
Yeah.
You use a lot of them through this run.
Yeah, this is by far the item that gets used the most. And, oh, I missed some. And
corners.
Time.
GG.
So now
That was
I will...
a really good run.
Yeah, it was not bad. I'm going to let this ending play out so we can see what transpires here. But basically, now that this is Miss Noir's test run of everything before she gets the main character, Cerise and A-Crew involved.
Also, I just want to say thank you for offering this game, because this game has big, like, cute choo-choo rocket vibes in its aesthetic.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
I love
this game. It is an understatement as to how much I love this game. All it takes, I think right now, I posted about it on Bluesky a while ago. All you need to know about my love for this game is to look at my speedrun.com page on the right-hand side where it has runs, a number of runs. Vividlope, I think, is on 84 runs, and the second place is 9. So this game has definitely, by far, become my main speed game and has been the thing I have spent the better part of almost 2 years now. It came out in May 2023. For almost 2 years, it has been the main thing I've been sinking my time into. And it's been an amazing ride. The developer of this game is fantastic. He has even joined our Discord and has helped me address issues in past versions of the games because of all of the stuff I was doing, like all the inputs and items and game like stuff happening at the same time. I would constantly crash. And so he would take every bit of crash log I'd give him, and he'd be like, all right, I'm working on this tonight. I'll have the hotfix out tomorrow. And anytime I came into a crash, he was immediately like, give me the crash log. I'll go fix it right now.
Wow, you love a supportive developer out here for indie titles and the speedrun community. I think that's awesome. Yeah,
fantastic developer, has put in a lot of time into this, and has made a genuinely fantastic game. And it is, I think it's only $10. So it is absolutely worth the $10. This is my second most played game on Steam now. The only thing that this is losing to is a Monster Hunter game, which is where my name comes from. So, but
yeah, and this game, there's also a free demo that you can play. So like literally just go download it and try it out if you are afraid to spend $10, which I get it, but like it's pretty cheap. And I have it took me 8 hours to get through this game casually. You're getting your money's worth.
Absolutely.
And it is.
There are a ton of stages.
There are tons of stages. The most recent update added an entire extra 15 levels to the game. You can play on hard mode, which just amps the amount of enemies that are spawning. So if you do find the game is too easy, just play on hard mode. And then if you do find it to be a little tricky after that, you can just use items like I've been doing. For me, I think the first playthrough I did, I finished everything in 13 hours. And then
Okay.
right now I have the world record for all stages, which is just at like 2 hours and 15 minutes, I think. So even going fast, it still takes me a couple hours to do every level in this game. But it is absolutely worth it, 100%. I will say that some of the achievements get a little tricky. So if you're the type of person that loves to go for all the achievements in a game, and you want to spend time in something that will push you, this game's achievements will absolutely push you.
All right. Do you have any? The two of you have any other shout outs you want to make?
Follow
wrap up for
Silver
the
on
night?
Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely go follow Silver on Twitch.
I do want to thank Shovel for jumping in. Like I said, they have been my my hype person. It keeps joining my streams to hype me up. It was always in Discord, always responding to every post of mine with like a flame emoji. So it's definitely been a hype person for me. I want to thank everybody who's been in the Vividlope speedrunning Discord. Everybody, we've got quite a few people that hang out in there just to chat and see what we're working on. Anybody who's watching from the casual Vividlope Discord server, there's a lot of people in there that hang out and chill. Thank, of course, to the developer for all their support. And I've also, if you want to join me in crossing my fingers, I did submit this for SGDQ. So you can join me in crossing our fingers for next week and see if it makes it in. If not, totally cool. I'm going to SGDQ anyway. So.
Hell yeah. As for me, my only shout out is to go speedrun indie games. There's a really vast world out there, and Vividlope is one of many that you can choose from. Trust me, I'm not a hype person because I just think Silver is cool. This game is just really sick. Silver is cool, but this game is really sick. I do want to pick it up eventually, but I've been busy. You can follow me on Twitch if you want to. I don't care. Go play this game. It's really sick. It completely flew under the radar. It released 2 years ago now.
Yep.
Cool indie games like this just exist out there in the world, and you can go play it. Isn't that we live in such a wonderful time for video games?
If you are interested in learning this, speedrun.com/Vividlope, I have an hour-long tutorial on how to do this exact category. So if you're interested in learning it and have played this game, you can sit down and listen to me ramble for an hour on how to do all of this.
Yeah, it's a very helpful tutorial. I've started watching it recently, just very casually. But I think that's it from us. Unless Silver, you have anything you want to add at the end?
No, I think that is it for me.